everybody. My name is Mike Barrett. I'm currently serving as the president of the Northeast Kingdom Cancer Action Network. We like to call ourselves NEKCAN for short. And whenever we have an event, we find it's a golden opportunity just to give you a little insight as to what we're doing. So we were created about a year and a half ago with one goal, and that is to help our neighbors, our community members in the Northeast Kingdom of Vermont, defined as Orleans, Essex, and Caledonia County, on their fight with cancer. You know, if you are diagnosed with cancer, there's enough going on. You don't need to be worried about putting gas in your car, oil in your fuel tank at home, groceries in your cupboards, all kinds of things. So we exist for one reason, and that's the reason. For those out there, if you don't know, you can go onto our website and apply for a grant. We currently have over 20 recipients of grant money right now, which equates to $250 a month for 6 months for every person we award a grant to. And they are fighting cancer with our help, and if you don't mind, a round of applause for all that. So how do we raise the money? We do a lot of interesting events. We've successfully had a 5K rail and trail ale at the Goodfellas restaurant last month. We'll have a car show coming up later on this summer, an 80s dance night, and more events as they come along. And I encourage you to go to our website, nekcan.org, to learn all the details. We have a Facebook page as well, and I just encourage you to learn as much as you can. And anybody around here tonight wearing a little logo of NEKCAN, whether it be a red t-shirt or just some nice swag, those are all volunteers, our board members, our volunteer committees who are making all of this possible. And you're making it possible tonight by being here. So a round of applause for you and coming out. Very excited to bring to you tonight psychic medium Josh Simonds. Events tonight going to NEKCAN directly. We're extremely honored that that's going to be happening. He'll be bringing tonight his unique blend of spiritual insight and humor, a 2-hour spirit gallery reading. It's an interactive event, which is why you'll see me sitting in the back. Josh will be guided to certain members of the audience to provide connection with the world of spirit. During the session, you as the audience members will get to enjoy tangible evidence of our ancestors and our beloved dead. Also that they may lend connection, direction, and clarity to their loved ones here. And without further ado, I'd like to pass the microphone on to the person who really should be up here other than me, Josh Simonds. Thank you very much, everybody.
Can you hear me? Awesome. Well, you guys get to see my best side as I walked up here. So, hello and thank you. I am going to put my cell phone over here. I'm not used to the microphones, so I'm going to do this, and I'm going to stand up here away from these lights a little bit. This is Paula. Wave to the audience, Paula. Good. Paula will be helping me this evening. And before we jump into the festivities this evening, what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce myself, introduce my story, and set the stage for what you can expect. And I might even, as we get into this, walk down amongst you. That's why the stairs are here in the front. So, let me get started with my story. This sounds really loud. Okay, it's not? All right, so you can tell I don't have much stage experience. Perfect. So, my story. For those of you who have seen me before, for those of you who know me, I apologize. Bear with me as I go through this story. I was born in 1979. I was born in Lancaster, New Hampshire. It's about 30, 40 minutes down Route 2. My mom was from Lyman, New Hampshire. My dad was from Dalton, New Hampshire. And I was born in Lancaster, New Hampshire. When I was born, my mom was a waitress, and my dad was a construction worker. And I set that stage for everybody so people can know where I'm from and what my parents were like. That's a big part of my story. The reason that I bring that up is because I ask everybody here to do their best to forget everything that they might think they know about psychics, about mediums, about the world of spirit, about the afterlife, and all of that. I am very different from anything that you have seen before. If you have any experience with psychics, with mediums on TV or in person. One of the reasons that I'm different is I was not a psychic or a medium who was talking to spirits as a child. If you're familiar with people who do this professionally, there's a lot of them, if not most of them, who like to claim, rightfully so or not, that they were speaking to spirits as children. You'll see that a lot. It's like a badge of honor that they'll wear. I'm not sure if that's a thing or not, but what I can say is that that wasn't my story. I was not the little kid who was hearing spirits. I know that what I do is very traumatic for the people that come to me because they're dealing with grief and death and loss, but also for me as I deal with people's trauma and pain. I know that the help that I get from the world of spirit would not do that to a small child. So I kind of take issue with this stuff happening to people at a young age. And the reason why is because this stuff happened to me when I was about 37 years old. So I'm going to paint the picture to you, give you guys a good idea what the story is. I was born in 1979. I was a little 80s kid. I was 3 or 4 years old, and I knew that I loved scary stuff. I just loved vampires, werewolves, ghosts, zombies, UFOs, psychics, all the weird stuff. I loved it. Now, I had a little sister. My parents, they didn't care that I was the 7-year-old kid reading Stephen King because I was not beating up on my little sister. They were working 2 or 3 jobs themselves, and I wasn't raised in hell. I was just reading books. I grew up in Lunenburg. My parents moved over to Lunenburg when I was about 5 years old. Grew up there, went to school in Lunenburg, went to school in Gilman, and then I graduated from St. Johnsbury Academy in 1997. Throughout all of this time, I was just a kid who liked reading scary books, liked watching horror movies. I wasn't a spiritual person whatsoever. I wasn't raised in the church, any denomination at all. That is another big thing for everybody to know about me because I don't have all the stuff that comes along with that. Good and bad. There's good and bad stuff that comes with that. So, graduated in 1997, didn't go to college, had a child in 2003. In 2005, 2006, his mother and I separated. And when his mother and I separated, my son's mother and I separated, I came out of the closet. When I was a little kid, I also knew that I was gay, but I also knew that I couldn't share that with anybody. The people that I was around, the day and age that I was alive in, as soon as I knew I was gay, I knew that was something that I could not share. So I spent about 26 years in the closet, came out of the closet when I was about 29. In 2008, I found myself working at the Lancaster US Cellular store. I've done all sorts of jobs in my life. I've worked at Home Depot, I've been a carpenter, I've done landscaping. I've sold cell phones, and in 2008, I was selling cell phones at US Cellular. On Saturdays, Shelly, the gal that I worked with, and I would go down to the farmer's market. When I went down to the farmer's market, I fell in love with my husband. He's not here tonight. He's usually here at these events. His name is Isaac, and when I met him, he was very spiritual. His parents and my parents were about as opposite as you could imagine. His parents read the Bible. My parents rode motorcycles. That's literally how different we were. Okay. When I met him, he was into all of the New Age spirituality. He was into Reiki and shamanism and herbalism. He was all into tarot cards. He was all into all of this stuff. I was not. And as I saw him get into this stuff and explore all of this, I was very much the guy that was like, have fun playing Dungeons and Dragons. Please don't hurt yourself. Please don't hurt other people. And I'm going to just keep working. I'm just going to keep doing my thing, and you have your stuff. I'll be quite frank with everybody, when that stuff was going on, I was keeping my ear to the ground for mental illness. Because a lot of the new age spirituality, well, it can lead folks who have mental illness issues down strange paths. And that's a big part of what I do and what I talk about. So as he was exploring spirituality and he was doing tarot cards and he was all into all that stuff, I just kept working. We got married in 2010. 2013, I started a marketing business. Now, this is an interesting story. I'm giving you guys context so you can see how this leads up. In 2010, I married. 2013, I was working for the local radio stations here. I had worked in Littleton at a software company for about 4 years, and I got to the point where I plateaued. I couldn't learn anything, I couldn't do anything, and I was driving around one day and I heard an ad on the radio looking for sales help. And I went to go sell radio ads. And when I went to go sell radio ads, the guy who was interviewing me told me that that would be the worst job I ever had. The guy I was interviewing told me that this would be the worst job I ever had. Now, let me pat my nervous sweat off my forehead. Even though that was going to be the worst job I was ever going to have, and it wasn't, I won't tell you what was, but it wasn't the worst job I ever had, I did find it to be difficult. It was 2013, September. I was in Lancaster selling radio ads for the fair. And I was in a woman's business, and because I was representing this business, she escorted me out. I sold her cell phones. She knew who I was. Because I was working for a particular business, she told me to get out of hers. It was at that point that I realized that working for particular businesses might affect one's reputation. So what I did is I started my own business. October 2013, I got the idea to start a marketing business. Anybody that I was working with for radio ads, they didn't really know what was going on their website. They didn't know what was going on social media. And I saw an opportunity. So I developed this little package, went around to all these little businesses and said, hey, I'll run your Facebook page. I'll do this, I'll do that. That was in 2013. That really took off for me. In 2016, I had about 75 to 80 small business clients around Littleton and St. Johnsbury. Okay. So just setting the stage for you here. 75 to 80 clients working all around. And then my husband gets me a DNA test for Christmas. This is when it really gets weird. So I get a DNA test for Christmas. The DNA test, everybody's familiar with them. Spin a tube, send it off in the mail, get some details back about what you're made up of genetically. I had one grandmother that I knew, my mom's mom. That was it. That was the only grandparent I knew. She had family from Canada. She affectionately referred to herself as a stinking Frenchman. Proudly, I'm a stinking Frenchman. That's what she would say. I thought, as probably is a safe assumption that many of us would think, we're an hour south of the Canadian border, we probably have a lot of French in us. I found out through that DNA test that I have about 5% French. I have a whole lot of other things that really, really fascinated me. That led me to sign up for Ancestry.com, and I started to build family trees. I recommend that to anybody. Anybody here, sign up for Ancestry.com, start plugging in your birthdays, your parents' birthdays, your grandparents' birthdays, and you will not believe the information, the stories, and the pictures of the people that you come from. As I was going through that process, strange things started to happen to me. And this is when it started to get really weird. I would be sitting with people that I didn't know. I would be having dinner with friends, I'd be a new friend, I'd be in an appointment with a client, and then all of a sudden weird things would start to happen. And when I say weird, I would start to smell things, I would start to feel things, I would start to see things, I would start to know things. And they were peculiar things. And some of those things had to do with people who were dead. Strangely. So, I am not ashamed to say that scared the ever-living crap out of me. That's what makes me different. There's a lot of people who this happens to, and they feel like they're God's gift to whatever, and I was frightened. I was scared, and it's scary. Now, go back to the guy who just liked reading scary books and watching scary movies. All of a sudden, I'm seeing people in my head. I'm feeling things, I'm knowing things, I'm hearing things. But what I found is all of those things that were coming to me, all of those things that were coming out of nowhere, once I was able to establish that they weren't mental illness, I found that everything that was happening to me and everything that was coming through for a person's well-being, for their best interest, truly. Now, this was fascinating. It wasn't just random information. It wasn't that, your grandmother liked white shoes. It wasn't things like that. It was very specific, important information. It intrigued me enough that I wanted to figure it out. But I also wanted to make sure that it wasn't mental illness. Because if it was mental illness, I was going to have to do something about it. So I decided to use science to figure this out. Now, science got me into it with a DNA test. I was going to use science to figure this out. The scientific method is given to us in our chemistry, our biology, our science classes. I had a suspicion that something was happening. That's a hypothesis. That's what science is. You have a hypothesis, a suspicion. I had a suspicion, and what I decided to do was run an experiment. Halloween of 2017, I got 9 people together, had my husband get them together. I wanted to make sure that they weren't people that I knew. And I wanted to sit in front of them and see if I could just tell them things that I shouldn't know. I wanted to see, and they knew that. They knew I was a stranger to them. They were a stranger to me. They knew what I was looking to do, and they sat in front of me and they let me establish the fact that I have some really peculiar things going on. Really substantial things, tangible things, evidential things. So as I was discovering these, I sat up in the corner of a juice bar and started to do little readings. That led to my husband and I now having a store in Littleton, and me doing this all over the country. I do these readings all over the world via video chat. Through that science experiment, what I discovered is this. I can smell things, I can taste things, I can feel things, I can hear things, I can know things, and those things are all in the best interest of everybody that I sit with. Here are some other truths that I've discovered, and I'm going to share some truths here with you guys. Not facts. Facts are different than truth. Facts are water freezes at 32 degrees. Truths are what I'm about to share with you. After all of this time of doing this, I don't have any one religion. I'm a very spiritual person, and I've had some incredible experiences with higher powers. But the truths that I'm about to share with you, I want to keep them as simple as possible. And these truths are ones that are universal to us all. Everybody in this room is alive. Everybody in this room one day will pass away. We live and we die, guaranteed. When we pass away, we don't disappear. We don't poof out of existence. Now, there are many people in this room with many different ideas of what the afterlife is like, what paradise is like, what spirituality, divinity, all of that is like. And I'm not going to talk about that. I want to talk about what happens after we pass. Now, that's a truth. We live and we die. When we die, we carry on. When we carry on, the place that we go to, we'll just call it the afterlife. It's not a far, distant place. It's not. It is right here, right next to us. And the analogy that I want to share with you is this. I want you to think about the world of the living and the world of the dead, the world of our spirits, where we go when we pass, right behind a one-way mirror that we would see in a police drama. If you've ever seen a cop show or a police drama and you see witness interrogation, on one side is the witness and one side is the police officers, the detectives. All right, we sit on the side of the witnesses. We're pretty oblivious to what's going on in the world of spirit. One, we've got 5 senses that limit us. Our spirits sit on the other side where they see us, they know us, and they feel us. This analogy of that pane of glass, I want you to think of your life and who you are like a movie to your spirits, a TV show. I'm pretty sure everybody in this room believes that spirits carry on. I want you to know that they do, and I want you to know that they're right here. And this is their relationship with us, because I am just a yahoo that kind of figured this stuff out. What I have is available to pretty much everybody. Everybody. Most people know, and most people feel that they are people of intuition. When you feel like you're a person of intuition, what you are is somebody that is connected to your ancestors, your spirits, and your loved ones. The human mind processes two different ways, emotionally and mentally. Everybody has an emotional part of their brain, an intuitive part, and then they have a rational, intellectual. Everybody here is in contact with their beloved dead and their ancestors all the time. Think of them as radio waves, cell phone waves around you, just like all of spirit, just like all of divinity. They're moving through you, they're seeing things that you're not seeing, they want to make you move in a direction that is best for you. That's your intuition. Now, as intuitive people, one of the things that you guys would find is that you know you're intuitive because you don't listen to it. There are many people in this room who would look at the worst things in their life. They've got on the other side of a situation or on the other side of a person, and they would say something to the effect of, God damn it, I should have listened to myself. I'm pretty sure everybody in this room can think of a time when they were like, man, I knew that about that person. I knew that about that scenario. I should have listened to myself. This is what happens. When you say that to yourself, what you're actually saying is, I should have listened to my spirits. I should have listened to the people around me trying to make me and help me move in a particular direction that is best for me. What happens with the brain is that you're receiving insight from your ancestors, from your beloved dead, from your spirits, whether you like it or not. They're around you, they're around you. And then they send you messages, and then it takes about a second for your brain to kick in and translate what you receive in your own voice. That's what happens. You're hearing it in your own voice just because of the way the brain works. So one of the things that I want you to take away from tonight is this. When you walk out of here, listen to your gut instinct. Please, listen to your nudges, listen to your hunches, listen to those first things that come to you, and don't second guess yourself. We're gonna go over a lot of other things here, but I wanna explain kind of how the mechanics of a group reading works. I sit with a lot of people one-on-one. The difference between a one-on-one session and a group reading is, imagine what I could have for conversations with people individually versus what I could have in a group of strangers. There are a lot of people that would come to this with certain expectations. What I want you to know is that I do this right out of Littleton. I'm not a psychic or a medium that pulls into town and just travels all around the country and you can't access me, or you're gonna pay $600 for a session or some crap like that. I'm in Littleton. So if you came here hoping to hear from people and they don't show up tonight, I'm 20 minutes across the interstate. Now, some people would come here hoping to find a connection. I don't control how this works. You guys are about to see this. I'm gonna bounce all around this room. Paula's gonna have a microphone, and this is gonna be interactive. Now, there are people that would hope for a connection, but I wanna talk about the other side of that. If any of you have ancestors like my grandmother, and my grandmother saw this as the only opportunity to come through and help straighten me out, my grandmother would not care if I was in a room full of strangers. So we're gonna pay attention to that. Just know that everything and everyone that comes through me comes through from a place of love and compassion. That's it. There's no judgment from me. There's no judgment from spirit. The people that I call on and the people that I'm directed to might very well feel like they're in the hot seat because they're standing in a group of 100 people and they're having strangers look at them. But there's nothing here that is judgmental. When I call on somebody and I talk about what they're going through and their spirits that are working with them and coming through for them, what I have found is that is a universal experience that everybody's going to be able to relate to here. So when I get connected to somebody and we're talking and we're sharing this, I want everybody to pay attention to what I'm saying and what that person's saying, because you'll also get something out of that exchange. From time to time, what will happen is if I'm directed to you and I'm talking to you about the spirit that I have, it might actually be yours, okay? So that's just kind of what happens in a big group. They'll give me the signs of who they are and what they want to use as signifying qualities, but just know that if I'm talking to somebody over here, this happened to me at a dinner. I weirdly had, out of a group of 50 people, 3 people in the room who had a father who all played Santa. So it was a little difficult. I was like, well, I got a guy who's played Santa. And so, it was the boat out of all the things that determined who had this guy. So that's kind of what happens here. I don't get words, I don't get phrases. What I do is I get smells, tastes, I will know things, I will hear things. Sometimes I get clear words, but you guys are gonna work with me to help me translate what I'm getting in the great antenna that is my mind. Now remember, everything that happens is in your best interest, which also speaks to the principles of whatever our higher power is. Love and compassion. Love and compassion sits outside of every religion and every nationality. It's universal. That's what's on the other side of that one-way mirror. So with that being said, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set this microphone down. I'm gonna take a sip of my tea. We're gonna take 3 deep breaths together. Paula is gonna follow my instructions, thankfully, and she's gonna work around the crowd. And like I said, I might get down here to work with y'all. Everybody who gets called on gets a 4-leaf clover charm. So Paula, shake the box. I found 16 4-leaf clovers this morning. It brought me up to 97 for the year. Everybody who sits with me personally gets a 4-leaf clover charm. Every time I do a group session, I'll bring one. Tonight I decided to bring a 4-leaf clover charm for everybody. So remember, as I get connected to you, whoever's here, you're gonna walk away with a souvenir. So I'm gonna go ahead and set the mic down, take a sip of my tea. Everybody close your eyes, get settled. We're gonna take 3 deep breaths together. I have to set my alarm because if I don't, I'm gonna go over. So give me a moment here. I'll get into a phase where I will just go, go, go. Okay, so Paula, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4 rows back, 3 people in, please. Yeah, hello. Yeah, right there, Paula, you got her. Could I get your name, ma'am, and could you please stand up? Carrie. Paula, if you would give Carrie the phone, or the microphone, please. Hi, and go ahead and speak into it. We're gonna get real friendly here.
Okay.
And you're Carrie.
I'm Carrie.
Carrie, okay. All right, so Carrie, I wanna describe to you the woman in spirit that I have for you, okay? So a woman, I wanna give you 2 characteristics. This woman is very large and in charge, and she's also very gentle, very soft-spoken. She would have had a very gentle, loving nature, but also very kind of like a large Marge, large and in charge, okay. You're a very tired person, and the weight of the world is on your shoulders. Now, this woman, whether this is a grandmother or a mother, she's larger, she's very loving, very bubbly, very gentle, very soft-spoken. 2 things that kind of feel like they oppose one another. The bubbliness, but also the soft-spokenness. This woman, it's interesting because you would know her exhaustion. This is a woman on your mother's side, mother or grandmother. This is a woman on your mother's side. She would have worked tirelessly, okay? There are times in your life, and not to air dirty laundry because I don't think I'm doing this, there are times in your life where she indicates that you get right to the edge, just pushed right to the max, and you want to give up. Like just throw in the towel, she says, just throw in the towel. And she can relate to that. She was a person who worked very hard and worked for the people in her life. You are somebody who is very tired just like her, and while she can admire your strength, she doesn't want you to follow in her footsteps of depleting yourself. Okay? Now this woman would indicate the fact that she did not take care of herself as one of the contributing factors as to why she passed. Okay? She passed because she just neglected herself. She was worried about other people, taking care of other people. Now, apparently, you got You got away with food from this woman. And what I mean, but like, I want to make like cherry pie. I want to make all sorts of lovey-dovey desserts, okay? So this is somebody who you very much got that from, or you have a very similar skill set, okay? I believe, Carrie, that you're a very good example for everybody in this room, okay? Most women in America who are very devoted to their family and their loved ones, most of them, they give themselves the least while expecting the most, and then they get pissed off at themselves because they get the worst version of themselves. This is you. And I don't want to call you a stereotype or a cliche, but this is unfortunately what I see so many women going through, is that, you know, their daughters, their sisters, their wives, their mothers, there are all sorts of labels and relationships to other people, and it depletes them because they feel actually guilty taking care of themselves. So I want to make sure that you don't walk the path of this woman, and it really feels like you have more compassion for your car than you do for yourself, in the way that if you bring your car to the garage, you don't feel guilty, but give you anything, you're going to feel guilty because it feels like you're taking away from your loved ones. Now, this woman wants you to know, so when she moved to the world of spirit, she wants you to know that she was reunited with a man that she loved very much. And she was, this is a peculiar thing. This is either her husband or her father. She was very excited about going to the world of spirit because there was a reuniting that was going to take place. Do you know what that is? Do you know this man that she was excited to see?
Possibly her father, I'm not sure.
So
Yeah.
she would have loved her father. She would have been
Right.
really excited to get over there and have that reuniting. She wants you to know that that is who she's over there with. She shows me dice, almost like they're playing Yahtzee or games. They're just enjoying the hell out of each other, okay, and just life over there. I want you to know that the worst thing for them is, you know how I said, like, we're their movie, right? Like they're watching us. Imagine what they go through. Our spirits, our ancestors, however you believe in them, however you think about them or where they're at, imagine what they go through when they watch an incredibly powerful woman, devoted to her family, devoted to her community, her life, her loves, be powerful, be strong, be commendable, but not really see it. And then always feel like they could be doing more when they're doing everything that they could be doing. That is tough for them because they watch a woman of power and strength exert herself, deplete herself, not give back to herself, and then beat herself up because she's not enough. I feel like I just explained your life from the age of 17 on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you know that selflessness, you know that hard work because it comes from this woman. This is a woman who set that example for you, that selflessness and that hard work. In the very same way that in the very same way that she was excited to get over the world of spirit, to meet this man, you will be excited a long time down the road when you move to the world of spirit and go over there and get reunited with her. And this is it feels like a larger woman because she just wants to wrap you in a big hug. I just want to pull you in a big hug and just hold you deeply. Now, one of the things she's got for you, who came with Carrie? Could you raise your hands, please? Okay. Who lives with her? You do. Okay, Beard. I'm going to call you Beard. The Beard. All right. So one of the messages for Carrie, because I'm going to put you in a weird position, everything that I'm saying about her, you got to agree with, right? You know, hardworking, devoted, tireless, tired, all of that. Your spirits want you to do Christmas better. Right. Now, this is an interesting thing because when I say you've got to do Christmas better, it's not a material thing. It's not buying more presents. It's not that. What this is that's an indication, Carrie, that you've got seasonal affective disorder. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I hate Christmas.
You hate, okay. You hate Christmas?
Well,
or the time of year? Because what it feels like daylight savings time hits and it's like 4 o'clock and you just walk right off a cliff, right?
Yeah, the time of year and everything.
Time of year, all that,
everything.
all right. So what I want you to do is I want you to look at Christmas, right? And if you're a Christian, celebrate it in a Christian way. It's also an ancient midwinter celebration. Midwinter, the colors, the smells, the tastes, the songs, the music. Christmas is right around the winter solstice. Midwinter Yule is right around the winter solstice, the darkest time of the year. We need that festivity. We need the lights, we need the smells and the tastes and the colors. I want you to just think about the two tastes and smells that I get very deeply for you are cinnamon and orange. So what they want is like that pot of potpourri on the stove to fill the house up. If you do nothing else, do the pot of oranges and cinnamon. Now, can I ask you, this woman feels like she did something similar? Did she have something that smelled like that in her house?
Possibly. I don't know.
Did she have a different appreciation for Christmas than you?
Yeah, it was always
Yeah.
when everyone was there.
Yeah, it's just a big celebratory time. There's a darkness on that time of year on your heart for you. Now, why is this so important? One of the things that I want to illustrate to folks is this. Well, you know, you've heard the expression, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? Okay. Well, be that as it may, I believe the road to hell, or road to suffering, if you will, is paved in numbers. I'll give you an example. I'm 44 years old. If I'm blessed to live until I'm 84, I only have 40 more Halloweens left. Right? That's not many.
No.
Okay. However many times or years you have left here to go through Christmas, you have the opportunity to enjoy it in your way. Okay, so this woman is funny. Hold on, she's funny because are you guys like partnered up, living together through Christmases, all of that? Okay. You gotta know that I borrow my grandmother's French, and this woman's like, stop being a miserable bitch during Christmas. So, Mr. Beard, this is what I want you to do. I want you to, when you walk out of here, I want you to go and set an alarm in your phone. I want you to look up when daylight savings time is. Usually the first week of November-ish now, I guess. We shouldn't even have it, but we have it. First week in November, I want you to set an alarm in your phone, and I want you to go into Operation Christmas, Operation Midwinter. And I want you to bring up this conversation, because one of the things that Carrie doesn't realize is that, you know, if she's up and she's full of joy, she is full of joy for everybody around her, living and dead. If you want your loved ones to rest in peace, you gotta be at peace. If you want your loved ones to have joy, you gotta have joy. So thank you very much for showing up. It feels like you moved the world to get here this evening. Thank you for all the efforts that you put into this, and try to fill your cup up, because that whole pouring from an empty cup doesn't work for us. So thank you. And Paula, if you could give her a four-leaf clover and grab that microphone, please.
Thank you.
So Carrie, I know that wasn't too interactive, and one of the things that I want to say to you is this. I have found that death, the act of dying, is like birth in reverse, okay? So I notice that spirits come through to me who have been passed longer, versus, it's like talking to a 20-year-old versus a 2-year-old. Wherever this woman is passed, like wherever her marker is, she'd like you to go visit it, because it feels like you haven't been there in a while. Okay, or wherever her place is to you, whether it's a marker or a pond or whatever it is, I want you to get to it, because there's this like, I wish you were talking to me. Wish you were talking to me. So go talk to your ancestors a little bit more, okay? Now, Paula, right behind Carrie, 2 rows back, she's in the shadows. She's in the shadows. You're right by her, right to your left. Yes, this one, yes. Sparkles? I see sparkles on her sweatshirt. Do you have sparkles? Okay. All right. Could I get your name, please?
Tina.
All right. So, Tina, you are all in shadow, so if I know you, I don't know you. Okay? It's pretty dark down there. Could I have the person or people that came with you raise their hands, please? All right. So, this is what I have for you, okay? Do you have any blood relatives with you? Okay, so what I want to illustrate to you is there's a woman in spirit with you. She refers to herself as a shark, okay? She was very tough, many people would have thought of her as like a bitch, but she wasn't. She was just tough and drew hard lines, okay? Very hard-edged woman. Not loveless, but very much business. Now, what she says about you is this. If you're not a boss and a manager of your workplace, you're like the boss and manager of your life. So, are you a boss or a manager in your work?
I am.
Okay. There is this thing about, what I need you to do is this, please. Give people 3 chances. After 3 chances, there's no hope for them, okay? Now here's the thing. You might be giving people too much credit, or the idea of romanticizing or idealizing them too much, like you see too much in them. So I get frustrated sometimes with the messages that they have to share with me, right? And what I have to say. Most of the people that this woman is referring to in your life are of the male persuasion, okay? So I'm not here to like beat the drum about, men are stupid and women are better. I don't do that, right? Women are culturally more mature than men. We're just gonna say it like that. Or women mature faster than men. It's just a thing in our culture. Now, one of these things is, oh boy, it really feels like you're having a hard time firing somebody. Like, I don't know what this is, but you're having a hard time like cutting them loose, and it might be somebody that's like bringing everybody down, or if you don't, this is kind of that hard thing about being a leader. If you can't make the tough call, it makes other people around you and around that person feel like there's favoritism going on, or double standards, or things like that. And it's interesting. Does anybody here work with you, Tina? Anybody that you brought work with you?
My mom.
Your mom, okay. So Tina's mom, when she's a boss and a manager, okay, she's like a cheerleader. She's all about the morale of the team. Do you see that? You do, okay, so you're nodding in the shadows, yeah? Give me a yes, give me a shout. Yes, okay, she is, all right. What's going on with you, Tina, is that there's like a loose end that you've got to cut away, and it's long overdue, and if you haven't done it, you're bringing down the morale of the whole team, okay? Man, if you only have one person that's a man that works for you, I am sorry. You might want to go send an email as soon as you're done with this, okay? Like, truly. Truly. Because, hear me out on this, there is a place of conflict within you. You don't know where you're going, you don't know what to do, you don't know, it's like a sense of hopelessness, and it's like, if you've reached the part of hopelessness, there's only one option after that. If you're hopeless, if it is hopeless, if this person and this organization is hopeless, you gotta cut them away. Because that conflict in you is making it harder for you to be you, do your job, have peace, and it's like a struggle, it's a stress for you. Now, you are somebody who is going to be a boss and a manager forever, all right? You're like your mother, you're never gonna retire. You think you are, but you're never gonna retire. You're just gonna keep on working, doing stuff. There's something about you and your mother where you both like to tell people what to do, okay?
It's very true.
You both have that in common. That is not necessarily a bad thing, all right? So I just want to be very clear with that. If the both of you are bosses, leaders, managers, one of the things that I have to share with you, Tina, is that look at the next 30, 40 years of you working. I know that's an astronomical number, but if you're going to be a leader and in the workforce, these are sort of skills that you have to establish and know how to, it's not personal, don't take this personally, but we're not the place for you. That's it. And that sounds very difficult for you. Now, remember to take everything that I have to say with a grain of salt. Is your mother over there internally going, I told her so, I told her so, I told her so? Mom, if you're like a co-manager with her, like if you you can't be mom and daughter without getting sort of, collaborating, talking about work and all that. You can't be that. One of the things that I have to do is tell you this, Tina, if you can't make the hard decision, or if you can't make the decision that you would tell anybody else to make, your problem is going to fester in your workplace like a cancer, and it's going to spread. Okay? And that's a hard word, especially for tonight, to hear. But mom, Tina's mom, if you could remind her of this, okay? And this is really interesting because, Tina, you're a person of integrity. And the reason why this is hard is because you're not the type of person to send an email. Like if you were in charge of somebody, like it feels like you could fire this person or let this person go with an email. It doesn't feel like that is you. And I think that's why this is very difficult for you to go through this. This person either needs to be let go or needs to be moved over to a different facility and out of the place. I wasn't expecting this. I'm sure you weren't expecting this, but there's something about this person causing waves or problems for your organization. Okay. Now, hold on. Do you have a daughter?
I do.
You do, okay. One of the things for you is that you are very all about showing her how to be a leader, how to like you're setting an example for this person. Like, I'm gonna lead, I'm gonna show you how to be a boss, I'm gonna show you how to be in charge. One of the things that you're not showing her how to do is to cut away the dead weight. Okay, and that's gonna be the hardest part, I think, of being a leader or a manager, because you're seeing the person. You're not seeing what that person is doing to the rest of the organization. I mean, I think every boss and manager in this room, probably quite a few, can relate to that struggle of letting a human being go. So, well, this shark of a woman around you needs you to know, if you let the cancer spread in the workplace, it's eventually gonna be you or that person. So if it's at this point, if you're getting this like information right here, or to do the tough thing, if you don't do the tough thing, this might reflect poorly on you, and you might appear to be a poor manager. So that might lead to your demise in that organization. So again, just a hard warning. This woman is very, very tough. I don't know if she was a school teacher or what, but I'll tell you, she's writing chalk on the board, right? Like chalk on the board, and her message to you is the writing is on the wall, okay? The writing is on the wall. You know what that saying means, right? So Tina's mom, okay, I feel like, Tina, could you pass the microphone to your mother? Please.
She's gonna fire me.
We're gonna find out here. We're gonna find out. Okay, so Tina's mom, could I have your name, please?
Carol.
Carol, okay. So this woman, this does not feel like this is on Tina's father's side. This feels like this woman is on your side. This woman is very proud of you, and she says that everything that I'm encouraging Tina to do, you wouldn't have a problem with. Now, I don't know if you see this, but again, take everything that I say with a grain of salt. This woman is saying that like if you were the boss and you had to fire this person, you wouldn't think twice. You wouldn't sweat. You'd be all in your head. You'd be compartmentalized. You wouldn't feel it in your heart. So Tina, if you could, please take that from your mother, okay? Actually, Tina's mom, are you like this? Or would you be able to do this? There's nothing bad about this. Yeah? Say it into the microphone.
I think so.
You think you could?
I think I would, yeah.
You think you
I
could?
could,
Okay,
yeah.
well, I think Tina's gonna give you another job for Monday, okay? So, just, Tina, there's like, remember how I said in the beginning, there's nothing about this, it's a judgment, right? They just wanna encourage you to be that leader and know when to cut the dead fat, the dead weight. It's best for you, it's best for the organization, it's best, and that person will find something to do. The job market's pretty good right now, so just, whatever this is, we'll let that person go. Let it go, let it go, let it go, okay? Tina, may I ask you, and you can answer this too, Tina's mom, either one of you. Did you have a man who chewed tobacco?
Yes.
In spirit? Chewed tobacco? Okay. This guy is very, how do I say? He feels very charming. Would you indicate that he was charming, a talker? Was he a ladies' man?
No, not really.
Was he a nice guy?
Yes.
Like, this guy feels like nice and charming and friendly and just a ray of sunshine that liked to dip. Okay. For Tina's mother, would you give me your name again?
Carol.
Carol? All right, so Carol, this man is all about you, and he says something about go to the small pond, okay? Like, did you guys have a small pond that you would have gone to with him? Would you have water, anything that would have gone on with this man? Go to the water and talk to this man, all right? And that might connect to you later, but I want you to think about this because when this man was alive, again, father, husband, I'm not sure who this is to you, loves you, very jokey, very loving, a very nice man. When he was here, Carol, you were on him. Like, you were on him. Like, you were, like, what I mean by that is you were really, like, fix your shit, get together, take care of your stuff, do that. He misses that energy of you kind of like needling him, like making him better, getting him going, all of that. So there's just a very loving energy, and he wants you to go to a place that's familiar to the both of you and talk, okay? Just talk, sit down and talk. If you can, was this person, when they had tobacco, did they like the minty stuff? I don't know if it's that or if it's just mint, like something else that he liked that was mint. Take some tobacco and go just sprinkle that on the ground for him, like make a little offering for him, okay? There's something financial going on with you, Carol, not bad, but something like you gotta take care of. This is very much like take care of your taxes, take care of a bill, take care of something that this guy wants you to take care of, and it feels very similar to like getting a scratch ticket, okay? So there is this energy. You guys have a host of kids that this man is around. He's caring for these kids. You just gotta know that it's taken him a little bit of effort to get away from these kids and to get here tonight. Carol, if you have anything that's going on funny with money, please take care of it if you could. Just loose ends, tie up any loose ends. There's something that's kind of haunting you, loose ends, please take care of it. He'd like you to have that peace. So, Paula, what I'm gonna have you do is give them both a 4-leaf clover charm for coming this evening, because you guys are done. Tina, you've gotta go on Monday, or maybe tomorrow, and have a tough conversation. So, I hope that I probably talked about something that 80 people in this room know about, jeez. That's okay. So Paula, what I'm gonna have you do is, actually I'm gonna come down here because I gotta go into the back row over here. So if you could head over there, please. The back row. Back row. Hi, back row. Who is here? All right. Red hat. Red hat? Red hat. It's a red hat, right? Okay. So I'm here for the gentleman in the back row. Could I get your name?
Shane.
Rashane? Okay. So, who knows you here? Like, who knows you? You came with folks? Yeah. Okay. Hi, Morgan. Hi. All right, so Morgan, have you known this fellow for a while? No? Okay. So one of the things that I have for you, and this is interesting, you're very intelligent, very analytical, very much a problem solver. There's something about the way your brain works that is very similar to the people that you come from. They're very smart, they're very aware, they can see everybody in a room, they're clocking everything and everybody. This is interesting because you're a natural born leader. And when I say leader, I don't mean boss. I mean, I know people, I can see people, I can guide people, I'm intelligent enough, I've got heart, but you also don't like people. So this is, do you know what I'm saying? Like you know people, you're a good people person, you're smart, you can analyze and figure out everything, but you want to be a hermit. So how do you make that work for you? How do you make that work for you? How do you take your intelligence, your brains, your smarts, all of that, and turn that into something that works for you, your family, your community, as much as you want to be involved, right? One of the things that I want to encourage, because it feels like, you know, I'm the son of 2 farmers, so I'm a natural-born entrepreneur. I feel very much like a natural-born entrepreneur. Now, what I want you to do is I don't want you to create any partnerships. This is tough, because when we start a business or start a venture or do anything like that, we're gonna wanna bring people in and we're gonna wanna support and partners and all of that. The words that are screaming to me are sole proprietorship, okay? Versus partnership versus anything like that. And this is a sole proprietorship. I don't mean to throw a monkey wrench into your life if you're sitting here in a partnership already. I don't want to throw a monkey wrench into your life. What this is I think what you're doing is you're giving away your authority. Giving away you're smart, you know it, and you're like looking for that information from other people, and they don't want this to happen. Now, I want to illustrate to you where this message is coming from. You have men that are very much like you. You have men that are very much like you who put their faith in people that they shouldn't have. And this isn't like there might have been dishonesty, but there's a difference between going into partnership with somebody who's going to be dishonest and let you down, or somebody who isn't going to give you and let you down. So if you're in a partnership, or if you're working with people, keep yourself safe and just remember that you can't expect you out of other people. If you have a certain level of work ethic, intelligence, heart, all of that, and you bring that to every project that you're touching, and that project has other people working on it too, you're never going to get you out of other people, okay? Now these men in spirit, they'll look just like you, they want you to avoid this disappointment. Because it feels like they might have tried things with people, did things with people, got disappointed with people, kept getting disappointed. Maybe some of them are dishonest, maybe some of them just weren't at the level that they were at. But this is very important. You're a leader, entrepreneur, an authority of yourself. And it really feels like a deep sense of intuition. Because when I was talking up there, when I said, I should have listened to myself around situations or people, you feel like the poster boy of that. Could you give me a yay or nay? Or do you consider yourself an intuitive person?
Yeah.
You do. You got a microphone, use it.
Yeah, I do.
You do, okay. Some people don't. Some people don't feel like they're intuitive at all. You're a very intuitive person. And can I ask you, are you about to sign some paperwork with somebody? Because you better not.
Yeah.
Okay, you better not sign paperwork with this person. I'm telling you, man, take it with a grain of salt, walk out of here and lead your life the way you'd want to, but there's something you're not seeing. And how about this? When you're looking at this scenario, right, and you're looking at a 50-50 work split, in 3 months it's gonna be 80-20. And you'll be stuck with the 80. Don't sign the paperwork. Man, I'm telling you, right? Look at this. I'm telling this woman over here to fire somebody, right? I'm telling you not to sign paperwork that is happening, right? I think what you would do if you had somebody else in this scenario, you'd encourage them to go get a second opinion. Or have somebody else look at it. Or do something. I don't know what this is, but I can't tell you if this is dishonesty or just, I'm looking at life through rose-colored glasses. I don't know what this is, but I can tell you, you're about to sign paperwork you wouldn't have other people sign. Or maybe you would, I don't know, but you just want to be careful with whatever you're about to sign because it feels like a prison sentence. Feels like you're gonna be attached to it and not able to get away from it. So make sure that whoever you're going into this thing with, they are aware of their capacity, right? Because you might be looking at a project or a something and going, well, from here, it looks like it's gonna end up such and such. But this is one of those things imagine if it works. Imagine if it does what it needs to do or whatever this is, you're gonna have a lot of work. And I don't know if this person is I just don't think that this person or people are as young as you, have as much energy as you, have as much capacity to shoulder everything. And if it comes down to this thing failing, or you carrying 80% of the work, you're gonna carry 80% of the load. That's what it is. So just make sure, this is very much like like a software program. Like when people write software or web language, they talk about if this happens, then this, if that happens, then that, if this happens, then that. You're gonna wanna plan out some contingencies. And if this is a business plan or like a contract or a lease or anything like that, I wanna tell you about Rocket Lawyer. You ever heard of Rocket Lawyer? Do you know what that is?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so I've used it, man. You can contracts, just really good things that are available. It's like $40 a month. So it's worth the $40 a month to sign up for a membership, roll through some questions through those folks just to make sure that if you move forward to signing paperwork, that it is the absolute best thing for everybody. Because the person carrying 20, I don't think that they're gonna wanna see you carry 80 and know that they got distracted or something happened where they were carrying the 20, okay? Use your intelligence, use your intellect to really look at this as if this was a client or somebody else getting into it, and make sure that you're not looking at things in a way that you're really excited and you'd like maybe make a mistake. So just kind of slow down, analyze it all. And the man who is very much just brilliant, was disappointed in life, looks like you, man, I'm telling you. I'd put a picture of him up if you don't have it already, and talk to him every once in a while. That person with their brains is gonna help you if you can just listen, okay? So careful of that paperwork and make sure that you just do what you'd want somebody else to do, okay? Thank you. Paula, four-leaf clover. All right, so could I go to this man right here? Hello.
Hi,
What's your name?
Mike,
Mike, okay. So Mike, who came here with you?
wife and son.
Wife and son, okay. So for you, I want to talk to you. In the way Rashawn, is that what your name is, Rashawn? Okay. Really intelligent, you're hyper intelligent, okay? And what I mean by that is it's like you have a level of intelligence and intellect that kind of operates above folks. So this is going to be a weird thing to say to somebody. Do you ever feel alien? Sort of like seeing things at a higher level than most people are seeing. So there's some similarity here between the level of intelligence and the awareness, the analyticalness. You have a hyper intelligence, a hyper intellect, in the same way that Rashawn gets this from his men in a genetic way, so don't you get this from your men in a genetic way. You have men that are around you that feel very scholarly, very well-read. At least if they weren't scholarly or well-read, they were very intelligent, and they had sort of like these are people that might be considered emotionless or have a difficulty with like human emotions because they're just really up here, like up here intellectually. Now, the people that came with you, I know that I'm gonna put you in a rough position with this, is this guy super smart? Yeah, I mean, there's only one answer to that question, right? So this guy has like, well, no, what I'm supposed to share with you is that this guy can establish it. Like you can look at his life, look at what he does, look at what he's done with his life. You can say that a person who's done this is a person who has a way above average level of intelligence. True? Okay. None of us are as self-aware as we should be, okay? And most of us are far too humble. This is one of those circumstances where I'm glad that we have people that have come with you. Now, I'm talking about you being like hyper aware. I oftentimes during these situations encourage people to write books, write their stories, write their books, write their stories. You have a level of intelligence and intellect where you could do whatever you wanted. And this is what I mean. You could write nonfiction, you could write fiction, you could write family memoirs, you could write your life story. You could write pretty much anything. You're a unique character, Mike, in the way that when I get connected to people and I tell them they should write something, sometimes it's a family story, sometimes it's fiction, sometimes it's poetry. It feels like whatever you wanted to write, you set your mind to it. You could write it and you could write it well. The challenge for you is writing it in a way that other people would be able to read it and understand it, because you're just outside of most people's intellect. So the men around you, dads, grandfathers, all of that, their message for you is this: why don't you take some time for yourself? So I don't know what you do, what your life is like, but your men definitely want you to take time for yourself. Now, we're layering these messages on top of one another, all right? So here you are, hyper aware, hyper intellectual, you could write anything. And then I get the message that you should take some time for yourself. If there was a thing that you wanted to write, what would it be? Do you know what it was? Do you know what it would be?
I'm not sure.
All right, I want you to give some thought to that. Family stories, things like that. There's an interesting, so my husband's family, his mother's side are Polish. So a few generations back, there are Polish immigrants, okay? There is the story, not through your mother's line, but through your father's line. This is like your dad, his dad, those sorts of where you would get your last name. There are some stories about immigrants coming from like the Mediterranean to here. So Greek or Italian, something to that effect. Skipping a couple generations. So what I want you to do is go back maybe 2 or 3 generations. Maybe it's 4 or 5. I'm the 7th generation here in this area. So whatever it is, however many generations back, there's a really interesting ancestor around you who wants their story told. So if you know who this person is, I would encourage you to dig into them and maybe even dramatize their life. But there is a person who feels like in their one life, they led 100 different lives. And it feels like if I told you who that was, you're gonna know who that is. Like there was a person here when they were young, and they were here when they were this age, and then they were over here and they did this, and they just did a whole bunch of things, and there were a whole bunch of different people. Very interesting, and they just never gave up. If you don't know who that is, I want you to do Ancestry.com and go up through your father's line to find out that adventurous person. This feels like that person who would have gone from Europe to America, maybe back again, maybe back again, bouncing all around, all of that. But there's a person who had an adventurous spirit, led a very adventure-filled life, and if you could take their story and write it down, they would just love it. Do you know who this person is?
Maybe. Uncle Russ.
Uncle Russ.
Uncle Russ.
Okay, so Uncle Russ had an adventurous spirit, lived a million different lives. He went all over the place. You know him?
Yeah, came over in 1902 from Italy and worked for the mob in Newark, New Jersey.
What a story. What a story. What a story. Now, he's passed. You can say anything you want about him, but you should lean into the truth.
Yeah.
Okay? Lean into the truth, because this is very much truth is stranger than fiction. Okay. Why do you think he was able to lead all these different lives? Because he was intelligent. Do you see what's happening here? We got that intelligence rolling through your family. This person, do you have pictures of him?
Yep.
Yeah, handsome son of a bitch. Well, I'm gonna think he's handsome. I just need you to get all his pictures out and show them to me, okay? So this is what I want you to do, is I want you to think of this as like a big project. Because that person, when I touched base with my ancestors and I started learning things about them, it changed me. It gave me such hope, inspiration. Those people, their strength and their wisdom and their everything is in me. This guy's in you, but he's also really interesting, really colorful, and it's a story that you could write. Now, we're gonna back up a little bit, and if I were to say this again to you, Mike, if there was something that you could write, would you be interested in writing Uncle Russ's story?
Sure. Yeah.
I want you to think about it.
Yeah.
Okay? One of the things that we've done over with Deep Earth Arts in Littleton is last year I started Deep Earth Press. So one of the things that I do, and all the spirits that are helping me, really, really want to preserve stories, preserve pictures, preserve people, preserve wisdom, preserve recipes, preserve it all. And from a big cultural, social perspective, one of the things that you and I and many people in this room have in common, we were born and we went and grew up through school without the internet. I want you to think about, please, just ponder this. You could write a book, you could publish it, that's easy. You could just write a document and throw some pictures in it and make sure that your family had it, that's easy, right? But I want you to think about your people in 100 years. Everybody's people in 100 years. I have a book of my grandmother that I wrote, pictures, her parents' wedding certificate, like all sorts of wonderful things that I was very easily able to put into her book. That's wonderful and a testament, and now she's not reduced to the ashes that we spread out in her back brook, right? Her whole story and everything just didn't disappear. Now I have that book for my kid, for his kids, for my nieces and nephews, for their kids. It's super important, but I want you to think about your people, your descendants, your family, in 100 years, what they could do with Uncle Russ's story.
Yeah.
What they could do with your story. So, this is what I would have you consider. Okay, is this your wife?
Yes.
Okay. It's not that you're not feeding him, it's that he's not eating right. Okay? It's not your responsibility to feed him, right? But it's just interesting that he gets so focused and lost in what he's doing, he forgets to eat. Do you know this?
Sure. Yeah.
You forget to eat, and then you get hangry. You know what hangry is, right?
Yep.
Okay, I want you to eat. I want you to keep a goddamn box of Snickers in your workshop or wherever you are, wherever you're getting so focused that you're forgetting to eat. I want you to keep some Snickers there. Now, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but everything that I get for you is you gotta have a cheeseburger, you gotta have a cheeseburger, you gotta have a cheeseburger. Are you low on iron? Do you have an iron deficiency?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay. Do you like red meat, or have you just not had red meat in a long time?
No, I eat red meat.
You eat red meat? All right.
A little bit, yeah.
So, big juicy cheeseburger. Make sure that you're eating it. Don't wait until like 9:30 at night to eat it. You know what I mean? Try to eat it at an earlier time. You're so hyper-focused, you're so up here, you're forgetting to be human. And I know that's a weird thing to say, but you're forgetting that your body needs to eat, okay? And you're not neglectful, you're just hyper-focused. There's a difference. So, not that you're his keeper, do you know what I mean? Not that you're his keeper, but maybe buy him a case of Snickers bars. You know what I mean? Just say, man, if you eat them, please just eat them. You know, the gentleman sitting here, is he an illustrator? Are you an artist? You're not? Would you ever consider it?
Be cool. Yeah.
All right. I want you to consider arts, graphic arts. I want you to consider, it's interesting, it's like tablet drawing, those sorts of things. There's something artistic that is inside of you and that you should think about trying to break out. Now, I don't want to, this is tough. I want you to make sure, and this is like a life thing for you, you could live into your 80s, make sure that you're not so afraid of failure that you don't try anything. So it feels like that. It feels like, I'm not gonna do anything because I might fail or people might judge it. There's an expression that would be useful for all of us. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. So explore yourself, try the arts, try drawing, I'm seeing graphic arts, I'm like seeing comics, okay? So just sketch a little bit, have some fun with it. He doesn't need the mic, that's just a little bit of advice for him. I want you to really think about this because this book for you and Uncle Russ, imagine, God forbid, you pass away in your sleep tonight. Where does Uncle Russ's story go? Right? Where does his story go? Where does his pictures go? Where does the information go? If you pass away and you don't leave that story, then your family's going to inherit those pictures and they're going to be like, well, this is Uncle Russ. He might have been in the mob. I don't know. Maybe there's some weird story about him and then it just gets shuffled off into a photo album. That's what happens to us all. I'm not saying that you're going to pass away tonight. What I'm saying is that we're all going to pass away, right? We're all going to pass away. And what happens when we pass away and we go to that world of spirit and we look back on that one-way mirror, when we look back on our life, we're going to wish that we had left things. We're going to wish that we had offered up some time and effort to preserving those memories and stories. So it's really an important thing for you to think about, if you could, please. Okay. Yeah, we're done. Thank you. You get a four-leaf clover term, too. Thank you. You're welcome. Honor Uncle Russ, please. Okay. I was like, this row, last person in this row, here we go. Okay, let everybody know your name.
Derek.
Derek, all right, hi Derek. So Derek, have you ever heard the term malcontent? Okay, so what I've got to say to you is you're not, all right? You might, over the course of your life, have found difficulty fitting in with groups of people. This includes workplaces, but it's not like you can't get along with people. This is interesting. What happens when you're an entrepreneur, a business owner, a leader, but you're not doing that? So if you're a musician and you're not playing music, if you're a writer, you're not writing, if you're a painter and you're not painting, if there's a program inside of you and you're not executing it, it's going to be difficult for you. Now, there's something about a business for you, like a business. And what I'm going to share with you is a potential timeline. So these events and these sessions, they're kind of scripted before I even take the stage, because everybody's walking in here with stories, everybody's walking in here with some universal themes. So I like what they're doing. Here we go with this guy, here we go with this guy, and here we go with another fellow who is hyper intelligent. And again, in the way that I was talking about this guy over here, kind of operating at a different level, I kind of have to explain that, like, it's not that you don't fit in, it's more like you can't fit in. And that's not a bad thing. It's like, it's just a thing. It's like, I'm not gonna go hang around with short people, I'm not gonna fit in with them, right? I just can't do it. It's like you are not gonna fit in with worker bees. Okay, let's talk about the business. Let's talk about the potential future that you could have. Everything that I get is flour, like bread flour. Are you a bread maker?
No, I am a cook, though.
You're a cook. Okay, so you know how, like, it's breweries and bakeries. Everywhere's breweries and bakeries, right? I get the flour thing and I'm like, oh, I'm not sure if this area needs another bread bakery. Maybe it does. I don't know what this is, but something for you to consider. I want you to get excited and I want you to dream a little bit. And I want you to think about the rest of your life. The rest of your life, you're either going to be a worker bee, pissed off and not fitting in with the other worker bees, or you're going to be executing this entrepreneurial dream of yours. Now, I would like you to consider something. They want you to sketch out and play with names, websites, themes, like I'm kind of seeing, man, this is a strange thing. I'm familiar with St. Johnsbury, and they're literally showing me the Gerardo's sign. You know, on Railroad Street, where the old Gerardo's restaurant is?
I actually worked at Cosmic Cup. Is that across the street?
Yeah, right across the street, right? So I think there's an empty restaurant on Railroad Street, and I am not saying that you go and open up a restaurant. I'm not saying that, right? What I'm saying is look for the empty spots. And everybody has to take everything that I say with a grain of salt. It really feels like the opportunities are coalescing around you in a very appropriate way. Now, this is economic development grants. This is like the place is gonna pay your rent for a year just to get you in the spot and all of that. As a cook, you're going to be carrying around a lot of trauma. I worked in the restaurant industry. It's like the second day you get introduced to, you know, the assistant manager, Mr. Trauma, right? I want you to understand that when I say to you, start a restaurant, you're gonna start mentally digging your heels in, going, what the fuck is this guy talking about? This is crazy, I can't believe it, I am not gonna do that. I get that. I want to make sure that you're not denying your exceptionalism because you're traumatized. And I'm not throwing a word around trauma. I mean, like, just because somebody cuts you off in traffic, that's not trauma, right? That's a word that is, unfortunately, with pop psychology, very overused. But again, you feel like a veteran of foreign wars, my man.
I 100% understand what you're saying.
100% understand what I'm saying. Okay. What I want you to think about is this. There is a passion and a purpose inside of you. That does not mean that has to be laid over the blueprint of what other people have done. I want you to think about executing your leadership and your greatness in a way that works for you and not in a way that somebody else said it should be done. You understand?
I do.
All right, because if I wasn't doing what I was doing, I would have a constant state of misery. Just total pissed off at life, just because I'm a musician, not playing music. I have a very bold statement for you. This is wild. You're a great man, not being great. I don't know where the hell that's coming from, right? But there's like, and that's not a judgment, right? There is unfulfilled greatness within you. And I think part of your inner frustration is that you sense it and you don't know what to do with it or line it up or any of that. And one of the reasons why that's difficult is because you might have trauma. If you have trauma, you're not going to see anything clearly. That's really going to mess up the way that you're seeing things. So this is interesting because your partner here feels very much like somebody who's just like, do whatever the hell you want. I just want you to be happy. Just be happy, right? So I'm going to, oh my gosh. The process that I go through and everything that I do, when I connect to people, it pushes them to greatness. Just because you have an unfulfilled potential and your spirits and everything around you is going to want you to do that. I'm going to give you an idea. Remember, potential timeline, potential future. I want you to consider opening up a cat cafe.
My wife's like, oh yeah.
Have you been to one?
No, I haven't.
You have?
No, I haven't.
Oh, so there's one in Barrie.
Oh, there is.
Yeah. You're going to want to prepare yourself. If you're a cat person, you're going to want to prepare yourself before you go in because you might walk out with cats. So if you've never been to a cat cafe, half of it's a cafe,
Sure.
and half of it's got plexiglass windows where you can look and see the cats, and they're in there playing, and people pay $5 to go in for a half hour and just sit with the cats. And there's rules, like you can't pick the cats up, and you got to sit with them and wait for them to come to you, and it's a cat rescue. That feels like $1 million idea. Like it truly does. There's nothing like that around here. You could partner up with Kingdom Animal Rescue, or you could have your own rescue. You could do something like that. But I want you to think about 1 part food, coffee, drinks, or maybe just food, you know? And then, is there enough coffee in St. Jay? God damn. There's a lot of coffee. No offense to anybody here that's have a coffee shop. We need the coffee, but we also need the cat cafes. So Derek, if you could please consider something like that. You said you're a cat person?
Yeah.
Okay. You know your way around a kitchen? Okay. You have unfulfilled potential? You do. And you are aware of your unfulfilled greatness. That's a situational thing, man. That's nothing about you. That's just you haven't found the way to make all the pieces work. I want you to start getting in touch with the Chamber of Commerce. There's all sorts. I mean, Railroad Street is filled with all those places being filled and all of that. Might be Gerardo's. Might be a place outside of Railroad Street. Might be a place outside of town. But I want you to think about how much, I mean, look at this place and how much St. Johnsbury wants the good things to happen. It really feels like you're not going anywhere. It feels like you're kind of got your roots down, you're kind of here. It also feels like you're gonna have to somehow figure out how to sit with your greatness. The bossdom, the manager, all of it. And if you're a person who is in a position where you're working for somebody else, it's gonna drive you crazy. And there are people that are totally fine with that. There's plenty of people in this room who just wanna go to work, do their job, collect their check, go home. They don't wanna do anything. I think that you are so connected to your greatness, and yet you haven't had the opportunity to fulfill it, that the first word that I started, I think that you may be somewhere inside yourself, and not to speak for your heart, but somewhere inside yourself, it's like, am I the problem? Am I the malcontent? Why am I getting pissed off? Why am I not getting along with people? And it has nothing to do with you. It's like the general of the army is in the trenches. And that general needs to be doing something bigger, okay? There are so many people in this room that can relate to this right now. That's why 6 weeks before Christmas in 2013, I was like, I'm gonna start a business. Fuck it. I'm gonna start a business. I'm just gonna do the thing. When you have to take a leap of faith, I want you to ask this question. With this idea, coming up with this dream of yours, and bringing it to fruition, ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? When you're faced with a choice like this, the worst that can happen, well, let's look at starting a business. If you go to start a business, then the worst that can happen is you go to work for somebody else, and you're already working for somebody else, and your status quo is the worst that it can get. What do you have to lose? You have all sorts of things to gain. And as an old man, when you're facing the end of the road, you're gonna be like, yeah, I'm glad I tried it. Maybe I didn't make it work, but I tried it. So I want you to really think about a cat cafe. Now, dream team here, creativity, all of that, artistry, all of it. So now I want you guys to think about names. I want you to think about brandings. I want you to think about .coms. I want you to think about all of that. You guys could have something like that. There's so many cat rescues in this area that if you started a facility, I'm pretty sure that I'll take 5 from here and 5 from here and 5 from here, and this could be the thing for you for the rest of your life. I know, right? Or not, because it could be anything, it could be nothing. But there is unfulfilled potential and greatness within you. You're not a Yahoo. You might feel like it because you've gotten into these situations where it's like, I just don't fit in. Oh my God, it's my problem. I'm the common denominator. It's not. You're just a great man who hasn't had a chance to fulfill that. Well, no pressure, right? Take that and run with it. Paula, if you could give Derek a 4-leaf clover charm, please. Do me this favor. When you start the cat cafe, right, let me know. I'm a cat guy, all right? But hang the 4-leaf clover charm up in it. Good luck. You'll be his first waitress? This is really interesting because I was like, there's somebody here who could help you. And then she pops up from up front. So, waitress, that's great, okay. Here we go. Here's a gentleman right here. Hi, I got a gentleman right here. Okay. Thank you, Paula. Could I get your name, sir?
Jeff.
Jeff, okay. Jeff, I'm assuming you didn't meet this woman here because you were holding her hands, but if you met her here, then good on you guys for making fast friends.
I move quickly.
You move quickly. All right. So Jeff, okay. You're a man of integrity, you're a man of valor, okay? I don't know who you are, but what you're doing in this world is important, and you are, you're a man of purpose. You're a man of purpose. Whatever you're doing is good stuff. And the message that I have for you is you can't solve all the world's problems. So you're somebody who is overwhelmed by the burdens that you're carrying, and you're like 2 pounds of dynamite stuck in a 1-pound package. What do? You're a helper. You're like a EMT guy. I don't know what the hell this is.
I'm a nurse, but I hold 12 patents and have 3 companies, and we're launching some stuff to help things up here for diabetics and also opiate overdoses. We're going to be preventing those.
I'm telling you,
a bunch of doctors up here.
You're a good dude. You're a good dude. Telling you. All right. Now, look at what just happened. I don't know you from Adam. And I was just directed to go to you and talk about how much you're contributing, how much you're trying to make a difference in this world, but you're overwhelmed. How many companies, how many patents? I mean, too many. Like, too many for one person, right? A lot. All right. You're running out of capacity that you wouldn't want somebody else to, because if you saw somebody else running at this capacity, you would determine that it was unsustainable. Correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
How's that going to work out for you? Okay, so now we're talking basic mechanics, right? This is engineering. This is you're asking too much out of the machine, and the machine's getting cranky, or tired, or upset, or whatever you're getting. It's too much for you. Okay. This is interesting. You are so connected to a place of valor and integrity and doing really great things. You're not following your dream. Oh my gosh, hold on. So this person that you're with here, she's encouraging you to, out of all the efforts and the things that you're doing and all the great things that you're doing in this world, she wants you to do the thing that brings you joy. I don't know what this is, and it feels like it's gonna be an added thing. Maybe you can find all the joy in the world with what you're doing, but to fill your cup up, you have to be a little selfish, okay? So, I'm gonna let you know how I relate to this, okay? So I am in the middle. I have gone through some very bizarre, tangible things, and this is part of it. I'm in the middle of writing a memoir, like a book, big book about all this stuff, my story, the things that happened, all of it. I got to the point where it felt like a drudge. Like I just wasn't getting any joy, I wasn't having any fun in it, and so I stopped it, and I went and I wrote another book, and I just got 200 copies delivered. I'm gonna publish it, it's gonna be available in about a week. And when I was writing that book, and I was putting short stories in it, and poems, and coming up with the cover and the title, I was on fire. I loved it. It was like coming up with a record, you know, you're like moving pieces around and doing all that, and you're being very creative. So I wrote a book, I love it, I don't care if anybody reads it. Like people will, and I'm very grateful for that, right? But I was doing something that filled me with such a joy, and the only dream that I had when I was a little kid, I just wanted to be the next Stephen King. I just wanted to write stories, and I wanted to help people escape from the mundane problems of their world. Nobody's asking you to stop the wonderful things that you're doing in this world. You gotta be a little selfish, and you gotta have a little fun. And you gotta go out and have a little fun and play like a kid, and that is going to fill your cup back up. You got men around you, very valiant, very hardworking. They work themselves right off a cliff. You're following their example. You're following their example, man. They depleted themselves, they burnt themselves out, and they popped. And it's like that's the badge of honor or the standard that you set for yourself. That didn't work for them. It's not gonna work for you.
They died at work.
They died at work. Are you trying to follow that? I'm just asking. I mean, could you list how many companies and patents you have?
I have 12 patents. I've launched 6 companies. People call me for like problems, like, you know, special forces and stuff, and so I just solve their problems. But I'm just a nurse, really.
You would not want your son to sit there, have all of that roll out of them, and then end all of that with saying, but I'm just a nurse. How awful that is for you. You are a nurse, you're an exceptional human being, and I want you to see what's gone on here. I go from one person to one person to one person to one person. Every person that I'm getting connected to here has a level of greatness. There are so many people in this room that want to reach inside themselves and find it for themselves. Now what I'd like you to do is, oh boy, I'd like you to get together with Ray Sean and go over that paperwork he's got to sign.
Yeah, right? I can definitely do that.
Like, for real, man, like, this is something that I need you to do, okay? Now, oh man. So they have the answer for you, the thing that will bring you childlike joy. And I don't think, do y'all live together? Okay. I don't think your life partner here is going to have a problem with this. Build yourself the tree house you want in the backyard. Want a tree house?
Yep.
Build it. Build it. And then watch this, right? Because you're so programmed with this work hard, drive myself right off the cliff. You don't see the fact that if you had a treehouse, make sure there's no Wi-Fi connection in it because you're a goddamn work addict, okay? Like no router in the treehouse, man. Treehouse, no Wi-Fi connection. Get out there and spend time in it and understand that there is a difference between childlike joy than childish joy. There's a difference between being childlike and childish. Now, spirit gives me this term, and I hunt it. I find it as much as I can. Vitamin joy. Vitamin joy. I want you to think of your life. Everybody's life in this room has a certain degree of pain, grief, heartache, all of it. That is going to find you without you asking it to come across your threshold. You have to pursue the joy. You have to see that vitamin joy as that antibiotic against the weight and the pressure and the patents and the companies and the pressure and all of that. The man who died at work, he feels like he left you something gold. He left you something actually made of gold.
Gold to me.
It's gold to you. Okay. He wants you to take and hold it. There's a strength and a power in it. So this is something that you can put in the palm of your hand?
Yeah, put on my head.
Put it on your head, palm of your hand, hold it. Okay. So there is that. Now, one of the things, because there's so many people in this room that have empathy. Okay? Empathy, just understanding how other people feel, making sure that they don't want them to feel bad, all of it. One of the things that I do is make sure that everybody here, as much as I can, has empathy for the people who have passed. Now, everybody here has lost people, and I'm going to use my grandmother as an example, okay? So my grandmother, she lost 2 sons, she lost her husband, and she lost both her parents. She experienced the worst things a human could experience. She lived until she was 87. She suffered through the worst things a human being can suffer from. When she passed, she left her body. And I want you to think about the analogy of a horse and a rider. The rider left the horse, went behind that one-way mirror. There is a process that we all go through. So when we're human, and we're alive, and we lose our loved ones to death, we grieve them. One of the things that nobody thinks about is that the people who die grieve the people they left on this side of the mirror. Now, when I combat my pain, when I minimize all the bullshit in my life, heart, mental, body, all of it, when I find my peace, I'm not just doing that for myself, I'm doing that for my grandmother's grandson. Because if I want my grandmother to rest in peace, I have to be at peace. And I'll do anything I can to make sure that woman knows peace. Now, the reason that I bring that to you is because this man who died at work, who went to the world of spirit, he's going to know a certain amount of regret. He's going to look back on his life, wish he had done things differently, wish he had done a whole lot of things differently. And then he's going to see the things that he did or didn't do cause the people he loved a certain amount of pain. That's a process that we all go through. So being alive is the opportunity to minimize the amount of regret that we feel when we pass. Being alive is just the opportunity to minimize the regret we feel in general. Build the treehouse, please. And if you're you are an amazing man, think about a consulting business. Unless you already have one. I mean, do you?
I own medical device companies, fintech companies, cybersecurity.
No consulting business though, right?
No consulting
Okay.
business.
Well, with your spare time, I want you to consider the consulting business, please, all right? But something that I want you to know, and this is a bold statement because not everybody who lives and dies gets this. When we pass, there's a record of our life. You're going to look back on your life. There's a record of your life here. There is absolutely a record of your life here. When you go to the world of spirit and you look back on your life, you are going to be so insanely proud of everything that you did, everything that you've done, and everything that you have yet to do. You need to take care of the guy that's doing it. So these people over here in the back who are all got entrepreneurial blood in them and they're just looking to just conquer the world in their own ways, when you do that, you can't martyr yourself to that. You got to know how to take care of yourself. You're running at an unsustainable place. That's it. Now, one of the things that you don't want to do, because this could happen, if you die at work and you just go to the other side of that mirror and you're watching her, you're going to have to watch her huff and puff and go, God damn it, I told him. And you're going to have to watch that. Now, that's going to cause her a certain amount of pain and frustration, but that's going to cause you a certain amount of pain and frustration. I got a bold statement, and this is something that I promised everybody at the beginning. I told folks that I'm going to offer a lot of truths. Walk out of here, believe them if you want to or not. I've got a bold truth to offer, and in fact, I want to set the stage. When I was at the Lancaster Rialto, what I'm about to say had somebody yell out from the audience. What I'm about to say got me my first heckler. Love it. I love it. I wanted to bring him up on stage, right? So here's a bold statement. There is no hell. There is no lake of fire that we burn for all eternity because we didn't cross off a couple of boxes. How do I know this? Because I would never lock my child out of my house. Now, what is hell, though? Hell is suffering. And this is why every major world religion says, don't take your life. Don't commit suicide because you'll go to hell. Again, think of it in an analogy, in a metaphorical way. When somebody unfortunately takes their own life, it's like that rider leaving the horse and going to that place. That place is right here. Every person who takes their own life goes to a place where they have to watch the pain that that action caused their mother, their father. And this is why a lot of people don't like me, because I'm not going to fill people full of new agey woo-woo bullshit. There's a lot of people in this world that'll be like, oh, our spirits are at peace, our spirits don't hurt. I'm going to beg to differ. They've lost their body, but they haven't lost their awareness of us, they haven't lost their love of us. My grandmother suffered for 87 years. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that she doesn't suffer where she's at by reducing my own. So again, I want to paint this picture to you. You have this man who walked himself off this cliff, watching you be magnificent, valiant, powerful, dependable, intelligent, a contributor. And he's watching you follow in his footsteps, walking yourself off the same cliff. I'm telling you, man, this guy will shake you by the shoulders when you get over there. So don't do that, right? Take care of your body like it's a machine. That's it. This isn't woo. This is just feed yourself, rest yourself, hydrate yourself, sleep well, basic mechanics. When I said to that woman, Carrie, that she has more compassion for her car than she does for herself, you fall right into that pattern. You have more compassion for your car, your computers, your pieces of machinery than you do for yourself, because you don't feel guilty taking care of them. You'll feel guilty taking care of yourself. Your life partner, what's your name? Just Marie?
Cassandra.
Cassandra? Okay, so I don't know why I said Marie. Maybe you look like a Marie I know. I don't know. I know why. I'll tell you later. That's not for a group. It's not like that. It's just something that doesn't need to be said in a group. Because she wouldn't want it said in a group. Encourage him for the treehouse, please. Encourage him for the treehouse. Now, here's an interesting thing. You said Jeff was your name? I'm sorry, I'm really awful with names. So Jeff. Okay, so Jeff, in this backyard of yours, you have spots where you've buried pets? Okay, you're supposed to put the treehouse like near the, like almost over where the pets were. Did you bury them near a big tree, big oak tree, big maple tree?
Pecan tree, that's right. Yeah, pecan
What is
trees. Pecan trees in the back.
Okay, well, it's a big tree. I don't know, bury. Build this thing on, you don't want to build it on a small tree. You don't want to build it on a big tree. But you want this, this is such a strange thing to say to a man I've never met. You're going to want to build your tree house like your life depends on it. It may indeed. Okay? Now, one of these things that you're just kind of like these other gentlemen in the back, kind of like operating way up here outside of the realm of other people, like, brrr, like way up here. That thing that is like gold to you, I want you to hold on to it, and that's going to bring you down. Like it's going to calm you down. It's going to settle you a little bit. Okay? It's going to settle you a little bit. Paula, if you could give Jeff and Cassandra, I wanted to call you Marie. Give them both a four-leaf clover charm, please. Okay, now, thank you. Paula, if we could come up here to the gray sweatshirt next to Tina. Now you're not in the shadows. Hi, Tina. No longer shadowed Tina. Okay. Yes, right here. Okay. Could I get your name, please?
Nikki.
Nikki. Okay. I can see why you're sitting next to Tina because you're both problem solving, like, gonna get right after it. They seem to really be going after the business owners, the leaders, the managers, the people that's got the strength and they need to do something. May I ask you, it's a funny question, are you a pie maker?
A what?
A pie maker?
No.
Okay. Did you have a woman in spirit who made pies? Like, I'm going to give gifts as pies. I'm going to give you a pie, I'm going to make a pie. I'm going to give a pie, I'm going to make a pie. I'm going to give a pie, I'm going to make a pie.
Yeah.
Okay. You got to open up a business. Jeez. This is crazy to me, right? Because I follow and I do everything. I know that your heart, your mind, you would make great contributions to your community. You would help single mothers get on their feet. You could help people who came out of prison find new work. You could help recovering addicts. There's a heart of gold inside of you, and there is a way with food. Okay? There's a way with food. So maybe you're not making the pies, but you're like a baker who doesn't bake. Do you understand that? Okay. Now, one of the things that I want to explain to you here, because remember, I'm all about the science. I have to make it make sense to me. I'm going to make it make sense to me. So I'm going to throw a term at you, right? And it's not a scary term, though there are some people who might think it's scary. You are a kitchen witch. Okay. There's all sorts of messed up stuff and programming around the word witch. We're not talking about devil worshiping or all that. It's just, we're not talking about that. What we're talking about is a woman who can heal. Now, you know this idea of grandma's cooking's the best, mom's cooking's the best. You know, there's a lot of people who feel that way about their mom's and their grandma's food. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've got to explain to you scientifically how this happens. How the food you make by hand is better for you than the food you buy from a factory. So let's talk about the human body, 70 to 80% water, a whole lot of water going on. Your water very connected to your emotions. When you're feeling a particular emotion, I want you to think about yourself like you're vibrating like a radio station. There's somehow that connects to your water cells. Now, you have heard of the word aura, right? Yes. So in some New Age philosophies, there's this idea that every human being has an aura. Well, in science says every living creature has a bioelectromagnetic field that they put off. Science can they can measure it. Your bioelectromagnetic field, the electrical force that you're putting off, I want you to think of it as like vibrating at a certain radio station, okay? Now, when you are making food, and this is good for every person who cooks and bakes in this room to remember. When you're making food, you're vibrating it like a radio station. It's weird because that does something to the water cells in the food that you're working with. So the water, like water is in everything that you'd ever bake or cook with, okay? When you're cooking and baking with love and you're kind of imbuing that healing energy, now imagine what happens when you make chicken soup for somebody who's sick. You're taking a big pot of water and you're stirring it with love and healing energy. It does something scientifically to the water cells. I want you to lean into that, but imagine if you took that and you fed the community. I want you to consider, feels like there's a man in your life who's got a hurting tooth. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to make him like a Raisin Bran muffin, okay? So if there's a man in your life who's got a pain in his jaw or in his teeth, does he?
Not that I know of.
Okay. If he's got any sort of pains, make him some muffins. But make him some muffins with that idea like, I'm healing him, I'm healing him, I'm healing him. And then see what happens. It's not going to hurt him, okay?
Okay.
What I talked to Derek about back there, about getting to the end of our life and not trying, right? And then having that level of regret from not trying. At this point, if you just threw caution to the wind and goes, you know what, I could do this. What they're actually showing me, this is so fascinating. Not a restaurant, not a bakery, not even a farmer's market booth. You need to have a food truck, but you need to have a pie truck.
Okay.
Seriously, I mean, 90% of the people in this room would line up for a pie truck, I'm telling you. Where? Oh, right there, see? All right. So think of that as an idea, right? Think of that as like find an old truck, make some pies, and then set up outside a farmer's market somewhere, or set up somewhere and just, oh, you want a piece of blueberry, you want a piece of chocolate, you want a piece of this? There are so many people, and you could be the crazy pie lady.
Okay.
It's that or go to work for Tina. You don't want to do that. Because you'll
I've
be
already
there.
done that.
You've done that. Well, I can guarantee you she didn't fire you.
She did not.
She did not, okay. So please lean into that, all right? Just please lean into that. And it feels like daughters, nieces that you have examples to set for, like little women who are watching you, right? And kids don't do what we tell them, kids do what we show them. Like, I have a son, and if I want him to be powerful and confident, I have to show him as much as I can be. I can't tell him to be and then be the opposite. Okay. I'm not giving you any sort of like obligations or pressures or responsibilities. This isn't an order. This is something that you could do, okay? It's fascinating. You know that you have this like leadership, you can figure things out, you're pretty smart, you're good with people, you've got brains, you're not afraid of work. You and Derek are different. Like Derek is, like it's like he's standing right next to his greatness and he just can't touch it, right? And that's a pain. You are somebody who has no idea what greatness you have. Like literally no idea. You have zero self-awareness, and this woman who made these pies is like, let's see what you can make of yourself. She's like daring you. She's like, let's see what you can make of yourself. So the man that I was talking about, who might have like a toothache or something going on, right? It's like, put him on the mission of finding the truck. And that guy would be on like Facebook Marketplace, Green Mountain Trader. He'd be like digging, he'd be fighting. If you gave this guy the mission to find an old food truck to rehabilitate, he would be on it like it was his mission, right?
So my dad's already in the process of doing that.
What? Okay.
Not for me, for himself, but.
He's a pie guy?
Well, no, he's not a pie guy, but he just bought a trailer and he's gonna make
do
it into
that?
a food truck.
You might inherit it, or why don't you hop in and like he does the food, you do the pies,
We could do
right?
Yeah.
I want you to think about that. Now, how weird is this, what we're doing? Like I get connected to you and I'm like, well, you got food and pies and trucks and all of that. There's a level of validation here. There's a level that you're being supervised and watched and supported and loved. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. I mean, I don't know you, but I'm doing what I'm called to do in this world, okay? So, could you hand the microphone to the woman to your right? Hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay. Aren't you tired of encouraging everybody to be great around you and denying your own? So this is interesting because this whole room is full of people that are encouraging everybody around them to be their own best friends, but insisting on being their own worst enemy. So, could I get your name?
Christine.
Christine? Why don't you say that into the mic to let everybody hear it?
Christine.
All right. I'm just getting my phone because I think my alarm might be going off, or I got 2 minutes before my alarm goes off. So, Christine, this is what I need you to do for me, please. Christine?
I can't make pie crust, so.
Oh, no. This isn't pie crust. This has nothing to do with that. In fact, your spirits need you to stand up, please. I need you to stand up. Okay. So, all right. We're going to do something very strange here today.
Okay.
All right. Now, everybody look at Christine. Everybody's in front of her. Look at her. Everybody turn around. Look at Christine. Christine, wave at everybody.
Hello.
Okay. This is an exceptional human being. What you're looking at right here, who you're looking at right here, is an exceptional human being. Dependable, loyal, loving, intelligent, would give a stranger the shirt off her back. But what you're also looking at is somebody who incredibly dislikes herself for many reasons that are not her fault. And part of my message, part of the work that I do is this. Christine is a person who is aware in her own way of self-help. She's kind of putting one foot in front of the other, trying to get to this place where she can see herself in the same way that all of the people around her see her. Because that's what she wants more than anything. She wants to know the truth about herself. She's having a hard time getting there. She really is. And one of the things that Christine suffers from, and Christine, you gotta remember that as I do this with you, you have shoulders that are broad enough to handle it for the rest of this crew, okay? One of the things that Christine suffers from, this is not me saying this, and you gotta understand that everybody in this room, 99% of everybody in this room suffers from this problem. You have no self-respect. And the reason you have no self-respect is because you are aware of your own hypocrisy. And what I mean by that, you're literally the thing that you hate the most, a hypocrite. And how are you a hypocrite? You're a person who encourages everybody around you to do the best thing for themselves, yet you insist on doing the worst thing for you. Now, one, you are aware of it. You're not lining up those pieces like that. But one of the things that frustrates you is that the people around you, it's like on an energetic, subtle level, they can't take you credibly because you're like hitting the same wall, doing the worst thing for yourself. Meanwhile, you're telling other people to do the best things for them. That is not because you're a hypocrite. It's just because you're doing life hypocritically. You want everybody, every member of humanity to have the best thing for themselves. You're insisting on the worst for you. So this is what I need to do with you. You are the person that I end the show with. Okay. This is what I do. You gotta do this for everybody with me. I'm gonna walk with Christine through a certain set of exercises. And these are things that I want you to do in your head. You don't have to speak out loud or say these things. And everybody in this room, I want everybody in this room to do this with me. Do this with me and Christine. Everybody in this room, Christine included, this is the low-hanging fruit because we're all in America, modern age, in the age of advertising, if you will. Take the physical, cosmetic part of yourself that you dislike the most and put it in your mind. Everybody in this room do that. There could be unicorns in this room who absolutely love themselves and can't, so for those unicorns, just be patient. But for everybody in this room, please put into your mind the physical, cosmetic thing about yourself that you dislike the most. Most of us are going to have it just like that. Now I want you to put into your mind what you would tell a daughter, a sister, or a best friend. And I want you to see how they're two totally different things. And I want you to pick which one of those is the truth and which one of those is the lie. All right. Now you have a man in spirit who's very much like he says he's a cartographer, like a man of history and ancestry and just like wisdom and all of this wonderful, he's like almost like a backwoods professor. I love that. I want you to do this for him. This is like a grandfather. This is an elderly person, an ancient person. I want you to do this for him. I want you to put into your mind the biggest regret, shame, or guilt that you hold right now. Now, everybody else is doing that as well. Some of us digging a little bit deeper. All right. Now, what I want you to do is put into your mind what you would tell a daughter, a sister, a best friend if they held that same shame, regret, or guilt around the same exact scenario. The thing that you would tell your sister, daughter, or best friend is exactly what you would tell every other member of humanity who felt the same. You are the only person who's allowed to feel that way. Well, what makes you so special? You're not that special. You can't feel a way that no other human being should feel, but you're trying to. All right. Now, this is what I want you to do. Everybody here is going to have a hard time with this. I want to ask everybody here if they want peace in their life. I ask that of a lot of people, and a whole lot of people say yes. Pretty much everybody wants peace. That would give me the opposite of peace. So that's your story, right? That's your story, so I'm glad, hold on, and I'm sure that you did that in a way that you'd want a daughter to do that. So this is what I have for you, Christine. Take the biggest problem in your life that's external to your heart and your mind. And everybody in this room, take the biggest thorn in your side right now. If your daughter, sister, best friend had that thorn, that situation in their life, what's the advice that you'd give them? And right now, Christine, I want you to see how the advice you're giving yourself is different than the advice that you give your daughter, your sister, your best friend, or any other member of humanity. That's what happens, right?
That's true.
Yes, and everybody in this room pretty much is doing that. Now, here's an interesting thing. I grew up gay. I grew up with a whole lot of people telling me that God hated me. God created me the way I was, but God hates me. I grew up with that. I grew up being told that I was an abomination, that I deserved to burn in hell for all eternity. That's pretty severe, and that can mess up a poor, scared, little sad kid. Okay. I was born into this world a spirit and a body. I was born into this world somebody who loves deeply. But I was told by a whole lot of people around me that I was worthless and I was going to hell. The beautiful world that created me hated me. That affected me deeply. And I've gone through my own process of moving through that. Every human being is a really messed up algebra equation. Every human being is a messed up sum of their parts. Christine, if you and I had different fathers, if we had each other's birthdays or each other's genders, those would be different variables in our equation that would make us who we are. When I said at the very beginning, I didn't grow up in the church, I didn't grow up with that programming, and yet I got exposed to it, that became a variable in my equation that made me see things a certain way. Now, I could choose to believe what I was taught. I could still be in the closet. I could still be walking around believing that I was an abomination, but I don't. Because I tell myself what I would want my brother, my sister, my daughter, my son, any other person in this world to tell themselves. Now, one of the things that some religions don't like about me is this. I'm going to tell you, Christine, and I'm going to tell everybody in this room that everybody has the kingdom of God in their heart. If God is love, and love is God, right? And I truly believe that in my own personal way. You are a spirit in a body. You are a spark of the great flame of divinity. And as such, you walk into this world a person who loves. Now, this is the other part of my message. Every single person in this room loves fiercely. And it's interesting because we think of love as this soft emotion. It's not a soft emotion, it's a force. And how do we know it's a force? Because pretty much everybody in this room would kill for the people that they love. That's a force. I want to show you how love is not an emotion. It's something that we feel emotionally. Love is the greatest force in this world because, as you've demonstrated over the course of your life, when you have to carry a burden for somebody you love, you become the strongest that you have the capacity of being. When you have to solve a problem for somebody that you love, you become the smartest that you could ever be. That's not an emotion. That's a force. And imagine what your life would look like if you turned that onto you. You're born into this world a loving human being, a loving spirit. You're going to die, somebody who loves. In between, you should come to love yourself, truly. Now, this might be the most spiritual thing that I could tell you, and probably everybody in this room, but if being a bitch to yourself is ever going to work for you, it'll work by now. Really, it's not. If you could just give yourself the same love, strength, and ferocity that you give everybody else, if you could just encounter your own problems with that, you'd have very few problems. I just showed you, right? The things that you talk about your body to yourself, the way that you interact with your guilt, your regret, your grief, and the way that you interact with the problems around you. I can guarantee you, Derek over there, if he had a son that had all of that greatness untapped, he'd be like, "What are you doing, kid? Get out of your way. Get out of your way. He'd be encouraging that kid to run at his greatness. So I'm going to give you the secret to life. The secret to life, I know it's a bold statement, but it's this. If you want peace, and if the people in this room want peace, they're going to do this. They're going to take a blank sheet of paper, draw a line down the middle, create 2 columns. On the left-hand side, they're going to write down the biggest problems in their life, their heart, and their mind. And on over here, on this side, they're going to write down what they would tell their kid. And if they want peace, they're going to follow that advice. If they want peace for their loved ones who are living, if they want peace for their loved ones who are in spirit, they're going to follow the advice of love, strength, and wisdom that they were born into this world with, that they don't have to earn, that they don't have to jump through any hoops to get, that they'll die with. Doesn't cost you any money. You don't have to move Mount Washington 3 feet to the left. In this neighborhood, it's Burke Mountain, right?
That's right.
That's right. You don't have to move a mountain 3 feet to the left. You literally just have to give yourself you. You have to start talking to yourself in that way. The human creature is like a computer that constantly talks to itself and listens. You have far greater control of that conversation than you realize. The secret to life is this. 20 years from now, you'll confront a problem and you'll say, what would I tell my kid? What would I tell my kid? And the answer you get will be your guiding light. As much as that could be a truth, right? But what's interesting is this man who is just full of sawdust and life and adventure all around you, when you ask yourself, what would I tell my kid? The answer you get is what this man is telling you. You see? You become your own medium in that way, and you're just getting the answer that comes from love. Now, I have had a hard go of this. I have had people that I grew up with that were the parents of my classmates target businesses like this that were hosting me and telling them that I was destroying the kingdom of God, that I was doing the devil's work. And I recently came across a woman who did that. This is interesting because a wonderful little restaurant over in Whitefield, if you ever get over there, the Inn at Whitefield, great restaurant. I did a dinner with spirits out there. And the woman who owns that place came to me and was like, listen, I got a funny Facebook message from a person that knows you. And this person says, you're the devil, and you're destroying the kingdom of God. Okay, I'm just trying to feed my family and do what I'm called to, right? And I'm finding 4-leaf clovers. If that's the devil's work, I mean, he's got to figure out something else to do. Here's the point. I saw this person. This person who I thought at least cared for me, that didn't want to target me or my family. I saw this person recently. I didn't say anything to this person. An older version of me, knowing that somebody wanted to sabotage me in my life, would have said something to this person. But I chose to see this person in that moment through a lens of compassion and grace. And I was going to give that person the compassion and grace that they did not give me. And I saw that person in that way as someone who suffered from a program. They picked up a story along the way that they chose to believe, or was so strong they couldn't help but believe. But this is the truth about humans. No human is born into this world wanting to fly a Confederate flag. No human is born into this world wanting to fly an American flag. Now, I'm a proud American. I stand in a country where a gay psychic medium can do this in a crew of people. I love my country, let me tell you what. And I saw that person, as I said, as a really complicated algebra equation. And in that way, I was doing my damnedest to channel love to that person. That person wasn't giving me love. That person wasn't giving me God. That person wasn't understanding that their God made me as well. Now, I treated that person in that moment the same way that I would want to be treated, right? So that's the golden rule. The golden rule that you live by, Christine, is this: do unto others in the same way you would want them to do unto you. Now that's different, because if this person was spouting off about hurtful ideology, I wouldn't target them. I'd just work on my own. But the other side of the golden rule is this. We must do unto ourselves as we would want other people to do unto themselves. I'm not going to live in regret, pain, shame, guilt, because I'm not going to put my grandmother through that. I'm not going to put this guy through that. So, could you take that away tonight?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the secret to life is what? Because I'm going to test you here. The secret to life is, I just said it.
Treating yourself like you would treat others.
Oh, 6 words, 1 question. What would I tell my kid? Secret to life is, what would I tell my kid? You don't even have to have kids, right? But if you had a kid, what would you tell your kid as they were facing that obstacle? A lot of people here need to get out of relationships. A lot of people here need to get out of their workplaces. A lot of people here are making a whole lot of choices in their lives that they would never have another person make, and it's causing them suffering and their people suffering. So the secret to life is, what would I tell my kid? And when you get that answer, you're tapping into the love and divinity that you are born into this world with and that nobody can take from you. You're going to want to look at it as like an antibiotic, because the human creature at the age of 2 starts to get programmed. You start to get really programmed. Advertising, you know how many women hate themselves in this room because they grew up with, maybe she's born with it, maybe it's Maybelline? You know how many women in this room 5,000 years ago would be worried about pulling fish out of the river than worrying about what their reflection was in it? You know how many people die spending thousands of dollars their entire life for hair and makeup, and then they get to the other side and they're like, I was beautiful the whole time. There's a difference between wanting to make yourself more beautiful and wanting to make yourself less ugly. Huge difference. Make yourself more beautiful. You're gorgeous. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my show for this evening. I thank you very much.
Sorry.
So what I want everybody to know is this. Please understand, my husband and I have Deep Earth Arts in Littleton. When I started this stuff, it made sense for us to have a store, sell crystals, tarot cards. We're not doing that anymore. We got 2 weeks of doing that. We're turning into a spiritual center. We're going to be doing workshops, classes, all of that. June 18th, Sunday, June 18th, in Littleton, 103 Cottage Street, we are having what we call the Goblin Market. So I want you to think about it like a farmer's market, flea market, but we got all sorts of wacky, wonderful goods that people are going to have. Herbal products, candles, all sorts of wonderful things. I am going to be signing copies of my new book. That book has 7 short stories in it. Those short stories are actual factual things that happened to me. I have a very tangible UFO story. I have a past life regression that I did that I would never encourage anybody to do ever. Worst thing I ever did in my life was go through my past lives. I encourage you to come to the Goblin Market and buy a copy of this book. It'll be worth it. Now, Paula, we have a 50-50 raffle to draw. Could you let folks know how much we have? Or how much is somebody's going to win?
Give you that. First of all, I want to say thank you for everybody coming tonight and supporting NEKCAN and Josh. We raised almost $3,000 tonight, and just to put that into perspective, that's 6 months to take care of some people in our area that really need our assistance while they're receiving cancer treatment. So thank you very much from the bottom of our hearts. The board of directors, the committee, we all try just to support our community, and we'll just keep doing that, so thank you.
Yes.
50-50, the winning half is $178.
All right.
So I'm going to have you draw the number.
All right. So one of the things as I'm drawing this, and I want everybody to know, like I said, you can come and see me one-on-one. You get a recording with your session. You get 4-leaf clovers with your sessions. I do group readings for families. If y'all have a family you want me to stand in front of and kind of have fun with y'all, that's what I do. But one of the things that I really believe in is the charities and the nonprofits. If anybody in this room is connected to a charity or a nonprofit that you believe in and that you support, please look me up because I'm happy to work something out with you.
Yeah, you just donated your time to give 6 months to somebody. So thank you very much.
All right, so here we go. Get your tickets out. We have 889-0010. Almost put it back in. 889-0010. 8890010. All right, thank you. Go ahead and collect your winnings.
I want to remind everybody that there are T-shirts up back if you are interested in an NEKCAN T-shirt. I'll give you that. Thank you. I think they wrapped it up for drinks tonight, but thank you for those who did purchase drinks also, and thank you for supporting Catamount Artport. A lot of people haven't been here before. It's a great venue, so now you know what it looks like, and you can come support them too, because they also donated a portion of this to us tonight.
That's awesome. So, thank you guys. Take care of yourselves. Drive safely on the way home.